or is there not a magma chamber underneath Yellowstone National Park?
Yes.
And is this magma chamber of sufficient size that if there was an eruption there, it could potentially be rated as a super eruption?
Could, right? Precisely, could.
If there is an eruption, then there is a good possibility that it's going to be a moderate one.
This isn't enough, Rick. If there's even the slightest chance of this happening, I want to know what that means.
And we would be looking at between 2,000 and 3,000 cubic kilometers of rock, gas, and ash erupting across the United States in a pattern that looks like this.
Expects an eruption anytime soon, and possibly with devastating consequences for America and the world.
Jesus, Rick, just be honest with me.
I'm being honest with you, yes.
This is going to be a big eruption. You've got to come with us.
I don't need you to tell me what harmonic tremor means.
If I agree to a raid, everyone's going to think that we've got a super eruption on our hands. But I am not going to be held responsible for some kind of mass panic.
Mr. Lieberman, Mr. Lieberman.
Yes, hang on.
Mr.
Hang on.
Lieberman,
Yes.
Are you still denying the possibility of a super eruption? It's twice as likely as an asteroid strike, according to some experts.
And half as unlikely as being struck by lightning, Miss Chinnan. And how many of us lose sleep over that?
Sit down. The captain hasn't turned the casket seatbelt yet.
This is it, Matt. It started.
Hey, Bob.
Nice dress. I'm sorry to haul you away.
No problem. Who have I got from USGS?
No one.
What?
You can't get through to the field office at the moment.
Hey, Dave.
Michael Eldridge is on his way over.
Is this vac imagery all we have on this?
Yeah, and it's only a projection.
What? Okay, Air Force, I need a plane up there as close as they can get taking a look at this thing. Let's brief the White House on little we know so far. Dave, get VAC on the line. I want to talk to Governor Marshall in Wyoming, Joe Foster at Homeland, and keep trying the Yellowstone field office. And Bob, please get me something else to wear.
Sure. Mary?
You up the chopper. You need to take a look, man. You need to see what's going on. Make contact with Dave. Let him know what's happening. Go.
Okay.
There are two kinds of volcanic eruptions, red and gray. In a red eruption, the magma, it's actually called lava when it's erupted, flows freely from the ground. You've seen it on TV, this slow-moving flow of molten material. It's damn destructive in its own way, but slow, very slow. You can literally outpace a lava flow without breaking a sweat. Not so with a gray eruption. What you have there, you've got magma trapped by overlaying rock, okay? The pressure builds and builds to the point the whole thing blows. The magma under pressure turns to foam and gas, which bursts upward in a vertical column at twice the speed of sound, 50 kilometers up into the stratosphere.
Sir, there are no cell phones permitted on this aircraft.
I understand. I need to...
Sir, I have to ask you to turn your phone off.
My name is Richard Lieberman. I'm the scientist in charge of Yellowstone Volcano Observatory. I'm receiving news of an emergency here that could affect the flight path and safety of this aircraft.
Oh my God, has something happened?
I need to speak to the captain, please.
Okay.
Dave, come in, Dave. This is Matt. Damn it. Dave, this is Matt.
Hey, Matt, it's me.
I'm heading out to Bozeman. Where are you?
Just to the northeast of Norris.
What are you seeing?
Oh, it's a single vent. Moderate size at the moment. How far from Bozeman are you?
About an hour.
Okay, listen. Rick is on his way back from Washington. We got shaken up pretty good back at the field office. It's completely down. What can you do for us?
I'll be up and running in 30 minutes.
It's been estimated that within the first hour, 100 million tons of pumice, rock and ash were ejected, powered out by something with the explosive force of 1,000 Hiroshima bombs. Then the wind carried the top of the column eastwards. Within an hour or so, pumice and ash began to fall in towns hundreds of miles away from Yellowstone. Cody, Billings, Idaho Falls, Bozeman, where Dave was.
Can you give me a hand? I just got a few things in the back of the truck to unload. Thanks a lot. Rick! Rick, it's Dave.
Dave, listen. Has this seismic activity, has it triggered an eruption?
Yeah, Matt said it's a single vent.
Okay. Dave, I need to determine the size of this vent. I need to do that as soon as possible, all right?
All the equipment's down, and Matt can't get a clear view from the chopper. Just put that down anywhere. I'm booting up a link to... Please, tell me you have a high-speed data port. Oh, yeah, it's right over there. Oh, thank God, thank you. Sorry, Rick, yeah. I'll have a satellite uplink in a few minutes. Should be able to see the ash cloud, and I'll patch in the back.
Okay, listen, Dave, I need you to talk to Michael Eldridge in Washington, okay? Get a hold of him, just, you know, inform him about what's happening, and tell him that we need him to declare red level 3 emergency, all right? You got that? Red level 3.
I got it.
All right, and if this vent gets any bigger, anything else opens up, then I need to know about that, Dave.
Will do, boss.
Chopper, go!
Me, why?
Because I say so! Go!
No, you're hurt, Doc! We'll take the truck, you go!
You go, you need a doctor! Right, Sigma, The biggest danger from an explosive eruption is the pyroclastic surge. It happens when the pressure of propelling the eruption column up into the air fluctuates for just a second, and part of the column spills from the side of the volcano. The surges from Mount St. Helens flattened every tree within miles and killed over 50 people. Let's just say we weren't going to hang around to watch that happen at Yellowstone. Get going! Field office too close. With hindsight, yes, but you have to be close to get accurate information. And no No one could have anticipated the size of that surge, its direction, or its speed. Pyroclastic surges can travel at up to 800 kilometers per hour, with temperatures of up to 500 degrees. They incinerate everything in their path, absolutely everything. It's hell coming towards you. They didn't stand a chance.
All of them? Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure. I just talked.
Oh, Jesus. All right, where's Jock? Mm-hmm. No, I'm walking into FEMA now. Just hang on. Listen, I'm going to pass you over to Wendy. I've got Dave Price on the line. He's in a backup field office in Bozeman.
Okay, let's patch him through. Everyone, this is Michael Eldridge from USGS. Dave, this is Wendy Rice at FEMA. Do you have any update on the size of the eruption?
Yeah. Jock Galvin left the scene by chopper a little while back and said it was a single vent. But the GPS and SRI data show signs of swelling all over the park and increasing earthquake swarms. My guess is it's only a matter of time before we see new vents opening up.
Thank you, Dave. Stay on the line and keep us up to date.
Will do.
Denver, bring all USAR teams to standby. Inform Governor Marshall this could be bigger than anticipated.
Are we recommending evac?
It's his call, but we're advising against. It's safer inside than on the highway.
Well, as I was saying, our flight plan has us about 348 nautical miles south of Yellowstone at our closest point. So if ash from your volcano does head our way, the Volcanic Ash Advisory Center will divert us long before we get anywhere near it.
Okay. Well, how often does VAC check the satellite?
About every half hour. We can put in a call now for an update. Would make you feel better.
Yeah. I'd appreciate that. If you'd keep me informed.
Sure.
Thank you.
We're just getting reports, unconfirmed so far, of a major volcanic explosion in Wyoming in the United States. Will! Early reports from Wyoming say the eruption has killed literally thousands of people. Many cities near the volcano in the Midwest have been destroyed. Authorities now fear a humanitarian catastrophe on an unprecedented scale.
Boise, Idaho's reporting a citywide blackout.
I'm getting reports of rolling blackouts west of Yellowstone.
Ash, fall on power and relay stations.
Okay, tell our FEMA offices in Montana, Nebraska, Utah, and the Dakotas to shut down their power grids and switch to backup generators as of now, and make sure those generators are protected against the ash.
I'd also advise them to shut down all air conditioning units. The ash will get everywhere.
Okay. All federal buildings need to seal up and start recycling their clear air.
Trigger 2, over.
Go ahead, Trigger 2.
I'm now monitoring the erupting column at level 500. Indications are below about 290. The wind is westerly, but above that it veers around to 7 or northwest. Over.
Hank.
You got those coordinates?
290, the wind is westerly.
Directly across major commercial air routes.
Hank, I want all airspace across the central USA cleared and put east and west coast on standby. Michael, where is your guy? I need him here.
Rick Lieberman?
Yes.
He's in there somewhere. He was flying back tonight.
Okay. Anyone need some blanket? Here you go.
So?
It's a single vent.
Single vent?
Yeah.
So Mount St. Helens, then?
Yeah.
Like you said?
Yeah.
What's that? What? That smell. Sulfur.
Oh, Jesus.
lost both engines. Throttle back, both. I have control. At the beginning, 1-8. Mayday. Lost both engines. Lost both engines. You have control. Starting 1-80. Denver Center, which is Harper Ferry.
Take your seat now.
Lost both engines. Mayday.
Yeah, I got it. Does the guy have a zoom? Can you get him to zoom in?
Trigger 2, can you zoom in?
Wait. Whoa. Hey, you see that, Michael?
Another one.
Yeah. Yeah, this vent number 2 opened up now.
While it was just a single eruptive column, there was still a chance that things would be okay. But the second eruption, clearly there was so much magma and pressure in the chamber that it couldn't vent through a single column. Instead, the whole caldera began to unzip in a series of smaller eruptions. Once that started, we had no idea how long it would go on for. Days, weeks, months. We just didn't know.
Wing anti-ice, engine anti-ice, PU. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Frank. We'll very shortly be making a precautionary landing in Cheyenne.
The ash cloud has blasted the cockpit window. We're landing blind.
On the back of the seat in front of you, clasp your hands under your knees. Frank. 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 On average, worldwide, about 4 planes each year unexpectedly fly into ash clouds. And on that night, 35 did, and that was just over the U.S. Flying into one of these ash clouds is worse than getting a dump truck full of sand thrown into your engines, because volcanic ash was rock. The ash melts over fuel nozzles, a turbine, various engine parts. The really amazing thing is how often engines survive and restart once you get back into clean air. So we were among the lucky ones. We got down in one piece. And by the time we did get down, no one else was taking off anywhere.
We're getting reports of large numbers fleeing into Canada along Interstate 15 and 29. Lincoln, Nebraska is on standby to evacuate.
Stand them down. I need to clear those roads and get me a transportation update on the Coast Guard.
The Air Force is evacuating its planes out of bases at Minot, Grand Forks, Ellsworth, Nellis, Kirtland, Offutt, Peterson, Edwards.
Is there anywhere they're not evacuating?
The East Coast, basically.
Thank you.
Wyoming's declared a state of emergency. They've asked for a federal disaster to be called.
Did you get that, Denver?
Guys. Hey, guys. Looks like we got another vent opened up.
Oh, God, 3 vents open. Michael, how bad is this going to get? Hello?
Hey, it's me.
Rick, where are you? What's that noise?
It's sirens. Listen, Yellowstone's erupted.
What?
I can't talk now. I'm with Ken, and we're making for the FEMA office in Denver.
Denver, why?
And when I get there, I'll call you.
No, wait a minute, Rick. Are you...
You know, I feel... Hello?
Rick.
Are you there?
Rick.
Initial reports suggest that a team of scientists from the US Geological Survey, who are monitoring the site from a field office within the park itself, have been killed. The local towns of West Yellowstone and Bozeman are being evacuated amid scenes of panic and confusion. Well, meanwhile, the growing ash cloud is spreading south and east from Yellowstone, raining down its potentially lethal contents across a vast area. The ash is bringing the roads and freeways to a total...
Find military installations.
What are you doing? Hang on.
Okay. Okay. There is a military installation about 4 clicks this way. They might have a comm links to FEMA. We're not gonna walk. We can't stay here, Ken. Pop the trunk.
No, Rick, for God's sake, Rick, it's volcanic ash. We can't go out in it.
When Vesuvius erupted, the people of Pompeii stayed in their houses. How do we know that, Ken?
It was preserved in volcanic ash.
We'd already seen from previous eruptions, Mount St. Helens, Montserrat, Pinatubo, we'd already seen that the terrible damage that even small amounts of volcanic ash can do. If it gets in your eyes, it can blind you. When it's breathed in, it will mix with the moisture in your lungs to form a suffocating cement. It's also unbelievably dense. Just 20 centimetres can collapse a roof, half that amount if the ash gets wet. Only people living within a 100-kilometre radius of Yellowstone had been evacuated. Everyone else, caught under the ash cloud, was in serious danger.
Dave, are you getting this?
Yeah, I'm seeing it. 2 more vents makes 5. I'd say the caldera is definitely opening up. What do you think, Michael?
I concur with that.
Coming down hard.
Dave, you gotta get out of there now.
What? And go where? Well, you got a secret highway no one knows about?
What about the people in the motel?
Some have gone, but most are staying inside hoping to ride it out. Man, I'm just hoping the room service guy's still around.
Mum, I'm off to the shops. I won't be long.
But it's not even 8 o'clock yet.
Yeah, I want to be first in the queue.
What makes you so sure there's going to be a queue?
This is London, Mum. There's news of a coming crisis. Of course there's going to be a bloody queue. Hello? No. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, okay. Bye. That's Rick's boss. They're still trying to locate him.
Don't worry, darling. I'm sure it'll be all right. I mean,
Mum, he's under the largest ash cloud ever witnessed. So is Ken. Do you not get it? I'm sorry. I'm sure you're right. I won't be long, okay? Keep an eye on Will.
My name is Richard Lieberman. Is your communication equipment working?
Yes, sir, it is.
You need to contact Wendy Rice at FEMA in Washington. It's Richard Lieberman, YVO.
Hold on a second.
There'll be a living hell beneath the asteroid. It will be swelteringly hot. It will be sticky, and it will be extremely dangerous.
And what can people try to do to help themselves?
Well, if they're caught out in it, they're going to have to try to seek shelter. Or if they're living in buildings which aren't well constructed, then the roofs are going to collapse. So they need to find somewhere safe.
Yeah, she's here. Don't hang out. Wendy.
Wendy Rice. Let him in. Give him anything he wants. They found Rick Lieberman.
I'm Sergeant Jeffrey Johnson. Hope you guys understand the precautions.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for letting us in.
There's water downstairs. Thank you. After you guys. Follow me.
What is this place?
It's an old Cold War bunker, sometimes used as a relay station for NORAD.
Are you based here?
No, sir, I just service the equipment. I tour all these sites, spend 2-3 days in each one.
You've got food and water?
For 5 days, for one man.
Meanwhile, panic buying strips shelves across the Midwest as fear grows over the duration of the Yellowstone eruption. Financial markets have been...
臨時ニュースが入ってきました。アメリカ・ワイオミング州イエローストーン国立公園の巨大噴火はやっと沈静化した模様です。
12 aún es la escala de la erupción. Las próximas horas serán críticas y Estados Unidos se prepara para soportar.
This is what I call a GG, a global geophysical event. It's going to affect everyone on the planet. The government has to start planning now for how we're going to eke out the supplies we have because, well, we really are in for a hell of a time.
Of the eruption is still the subject of conflicting and confusing reports. While officials claim it is the small to moderate event predicted, the ash cloud has spread well beyond the area that's been evacuated, prompting fears that the eruption is much bigger than anticipated.
God. I can't believe I forgot about it.
Try that again. We can go back to what you had before.
There we are.
Are you getting this, Rick?
Yeah, almost.
What do you make of it?
Show me the satellite image.
Mapping, bring up satellite.
Okay, go closer. That's amazing. Okay, can you give me the thermal image?
Hey, Wiley, what's he doing?
Gauging how big the eruption is. Trying to figure out how long it'll last.
Well?
Looks to me as if the various vents are beginning to define the rim of the new caldera.
So I suspect that eventually they'll all merge to unzip themselves into a single massive vent.
Rick, can you give me any idea of how long this eruption will last?
Well, this looks about half as big again as the previous caldera, so I think you're looking at something 60 kilometers by 90 kilometers. I mean, we are looking at an event on the scale
Of the Huckleberry Ridge eruption. It was the first at Yellowstone. And the biggest.
And?
And if that ejected 2,500 cubic kilometers of material, then we have to make some kind of estimate for the rate of ejection, and then you do the math, and you got your duration.
Give me a figure, Rick.
Say that again?
A figure. Give me a figure.
What, you want me to guesstimate?
Yes.
We're looking at a duration of...
Between 5 and 9 days.
But it doesn't matter how long it lasts, when you make no mistake, we are looking at a VEI here.
So there's no question anymore.
What happened?
Lost the link.
Let's get that signal back.
VEI 8, Michael.
Super eruption.
Yeah, the worst case scenario.
No, it isn't.
Jock Galvin, he was at the field office when the
The
eruption
worst
started.
case scenario isn't a super eruption. The worst case scenario is a super eruption which goes on and on. If a volcano ejects more than 1,000 cubic kilometers of magma, it's a VEI 8. The magma chamber under Yellowstone has the capacity of 25,000 cubic kilometers. Problem is, we don't know how much of that is eruptible magma. But that is what will dictate whether this eruption goes on for days or for weeks. By day 3, the volcano showed no signs of slowing. The ash cloud had covered 3/4 of the United States. Cities like Chicago, St. Louis, Detroit, Minneapolis, they were at a total standstill. Roads, railways, airports were all closed. The power supplies failed. The water was polluted. Every day it moved eastwards by another 150 kilometers. And all we could do was sit and watch.
So you guys are brothers-in-law?
He married my sister. I didn't approve.
She needed some sanity in her life.
Oh, well, she got that, didn't she? Married to a man now who works on top of an enormous volcano.
Where's she now?
Fiona. She's in London.
Well, at least she's okay.
She's not okay. She's not okay. And as long as this eruption continues, there's nobody on the planet that's going to be okay.
Can't afford to think like that, can
come on. Toss a coin. Heads we live, tails we die. It's that random, Rick. Don't you try and be reasonable. Not now. Oh, come on. We're running out of water. We're running out of food. The air is slowly turning to poison.
You believe in God, sir?
God?
Yeah.
You think, you believe that this is all God's wrath, Johnson?
I believe in his mercy.
Oh, nice. Well, you can go outside and you can tell those hundreds of thousands of people who have just died in this sudden cataclysmic eruption of God's mercy.
It's not helping.
I'm not trying to help, Rick. You expect optimism at the end of the world,
Well, if that's what it is, then you should probably go upstairs and take a big gulp of air then.
Because otherwise, what are we sitting down here for? Are we delaying the inevitable? Is that what we're doing?
In my book, that's exactly what we're doing.
Well, in my book, I'd like to think that I get to see Fiona and Will again. You know, and in Johnson's that he gets to see his family. I think as long as we remain focused on that, we're going to be a lot better off.
Yeah, well, my book's more pessimistic, isn't it?
Yeah, well, your books always are.
L'eruzione possa essere contenuta o se ci troviamo di fronte ad uno dei peggiori disastri.
We have no clear idea of how long it might last or what devastation it might reach.
تشير آخر الأنباء إلى أن الحمم والصخور التي قذفها الانفجار البركاني.
Listen to the advice of your local emergency services. Follow it. May God be with you all.
Hundreds of thousands of US citizens are homeless as they've fled from the ash cloud that now covers 3/4 of the country. Thousands of others have been trapped in their homes, and the Federal Emergency Management Agency admits it could be weeks before they can get aid to them.
Good morning, sir.
Morning. Morning, all. One hour ago, Air Force One took off from Andrews en route to a military bunker in Florida. That information does not leave this room. You can't run a country under several feet of volcanic ash, but some sections of the media will still say she's running away. Now, can we get to business? Wendy, how many people in the fallout zones?
About 25 million.
Casualty estimates so far?
In the immediate zone, 90%, excluding those that got out early. In Zone 2, we estimate 10% mortality. That's approximately 35,000 people. Zone 3, 5% mortality. That's 122,000 people. Zone 4, 3% mortality, 85,000 people. Zone 5, estimate 1% mortality, 220,000 people. Total estimated deaths for the first week, 462,000. And that's assuming Zone 1 is clear.
These are all from the ash?
Mainly. Either directly from ash inhalation or indirectly from roof and building collapse, power failures, especially in the hospitals, ash-related accidents.
Sir, standard advice to people was that they store enough food and water for only 3 days. Today is day 3.
Then what are we going to do?
Oh, excuse me? Wendy Rice.
Look, even when it ends, we won't be able to fly for weeks with the ash still blowing around. So what are we actually talking about?
You find a way. You don't just write off 25 million people.
Good. Put him through. We've got Rick Lieberman here. Rick, can you hear me?
Yeah, hang on. Yeah, we got you.
Rick, we have 4 more vents open since yesterday.
All right. Has Dave been able to model these?
We can't raise Dave.
Say that again?
I'm sorry, Rick. We can't raise Dave.
Secretary Foster here, Rick. We need to know how long this eruption is going to last so we can plan how to rescue 25 million people.
With all due respect, Mr. Foster, I think you've got to change your game plan. What you have told people is to stay put and to sit this out and to wait for your help.
I believe there's simply no realistic way for you to honor that, sir. And I think that if you do, people are going to die waiting for you.
You need to retract your advice. You need to retract your advice. You need to tell them to come to you.
Mr. Lieberman, FEMA will draw on every resource possible to rescue these people. That's our federal obligation.
No, sir, this is not about protocol, Mr. Foster. This is about survival and nothing more.
I mean, when this ashfall stops and the air starts to clear, the people who are trapped are going to, like we are going to start walking. They're going to start walking rather than stay here and wait to die. And they're certainly not going to make it, sir, without your help. You need to help us. You need to tell us where to walk. We need to have supplies dropped for us along the way. I mean, if we are going to walk for life, then it's up to you guys to help us.
He wants people to walk through the ash? I mean, is he crazy?
The added complication was that 8 out of 10 FEMA centers who would normally help to coordinate the rescue were out of action because they too were under the ash cloud. It was only the very eastern and western coast with a very fine covering of ash who were still functioning. So we had to look outside for help with our allies, South America, Europe, Australia. But you see, it was about that time, 3 to 4 days in, that people outside the U.S. started to wake up to the fact that this wasn't just our catastrophe. It was theirs too. They could see it because that was the time it took for the sulfur aerosols from Yellowstone to go right around the globe and start a global disaster.
Meanwhile, the first effects of the disaster are being felt closer to home as skies turn red over large areas of Britain due to the huge concentrations of sulfur dioxide released by the eruption. Ashfall has been reported on cars and buildings all over the country. Well, how serious these effects will become largely because of
right now, but if you like at the moment. The new twist has been the onslaught of really heavy rainfall. When you get big eruptions like this, tiny ash particles act as a nuclei for water droplets, so you get torrential rain.
Hundreds of thousands of U.S. citizens.
Lahars from the volcano swept 23,000 people to their deaths.
I can't get to the phone right now, but if you'd like...
Thousands of others have been... Well, how serious... These effects will become largely dependent on how long the eruption continues.
Hi, this is Rick Lieberman. Sorry.
Rick, where are you?
I just keep thinking, could I have done something different? Should I have done something different?
Just been more decisive or stronger if I could have, made the call earlier. Maybe that would have changed things. Maybe that would have saved some lives. I guess that's up to other people to judge. And my family, it's them who will be left with the fallout of that.
No, these men that I'm with, they think that if we stay put, that we're going to be rescued. But I honest to God believe that if we wait, if we just watch, wait, I honest to God think that we're as good as dead.
By day 5, over 2,000 cubic kilometres of ash and pumice had been dumped across the United States. 2,500 times more than the fallout from Mount St. Helens. But that was only about 10% of what was in the magma chamber. How much more would come out depended on how much more eruptible magma was down there. The country was already on its knees. Thousands of people dead, millions of others homeless. If it didn't stop soon, well, let's just say we were running out of options.
We have just received reports that Mexican authorities closed the border 4 hours ago. According to aid workers in the area, 3 million people have now gathered at the Mexican border, many of them without shelter, food, or money. Maggie Chin, KCBZ News.
They've closed the border?
To U.S. citizens, yes.
That's totally unacceptable. They're condemning people to death.
The Mexicans say they can't cope with the numbers.
Well, we're going to have to kick some ass.
Well, I think the president might feel that right now is a bad time to invade Mexico, Bob.
Can we move on?
Yes, sir. All right, our best case scenario is if the eruption stops in 2 days. If that's the case, access to zones 1 and 2 won't be possible until at least 3 to 4 weeks after that. So it's unlikely we'll find any survivors. We can start supply drops into zones 3 through 5 about 2 weeks after the eruption ends if the weather is with us, but it's going to have to be piecemeal, depending on whether the satellite can find clean skies for the aircraft.
That's too long. What about Rick's walk to life?
We can't advise people to walk through the ash. It's just too dangerous.
So we're asking people just to sit there and starve to death? There are hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people stumbling around out there, looking for help.
Sir?
All right. We'll go with walk to life. I need to hear a plan out of this room as to how to do that fast.
Well, still raining. Ash?
Save the battery. We're gonna need it outside.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Won't the Air Force be looking for you?
For me?
Yeah, you know. Leave no man behind and all that.
That's the Rangers.
So the Air Force does leave men behind?
I guess.
I should have joined the Rangers. Cheyenne's our best bet. We should head there. FEMA. FEMA knows we're here. They'll send somebody. Kenny, FEMA's got 25 million people to save. By the time they find us, we'll have starved to death. Not if we eat Johnson.
Try it, man.
Definitely a book in this when we get out. Oh, I don't know. One doesn't like to say I told you so.
We assumed that when all the vents merged together to form a new caldera, then the pressure would drop and the eruption would stop. That was our thinking. Then, on day 7, our seismographs began to pick up massive quakes, and we realized that the ground within the new caldera rim was beginning to collapse into the empty space left by the ejected magma.
That's all the major drop points. The Pentagon has 45,000 pallets, 800 planes, and 560 choppers ready to go as soon as it's safe to fly.
Information leaflets?
With the ash jumpers and all the pallets.
You need to see this.
Does this mean...
This means that the pressure holding the eruption column in the air is beginning to drop. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
And now to the news that America has been waiting for. The end of the supervolcanic eruption at Yellowstone National Park. At 9:17 a.m. local time, the eruption column began to collapse.
Ocurrida en el Parque Nacional de Yellowstone, Wyoming, Estados Unidos, parece haber llegado a su fin.
这是整个火山爆发当中具有关键性的转折点。
Huge pyroclastic surges, which radiated out over 100 miles from the base of the column, overwhelming the U.S. Air Force drone that's been monitoring the eruption. A
Across America, the overwhelming task of trying to bring aid to the estimated 29 million people trapped by the ashfall begins. Authorities now admit it'll take weeks, if not months, to reach those trapped closest to the volcano.
We're gonna head back toward the interstate and then turn north. Any abandoned vehicles we come across along the way, I think we should stop and check them for water in the washer bottle, fluid, anything we can use. Okay. Okay. How far? Outskirts of Cheyenne are approximately 25 kilometers.
You know, I've got to say, Richard, this has been a crappy book tour so far.
Flashlight. Ready? Okay. Come on. Come on up. All right. You okay?
It used to be BC and AD, before and after Christ. Well, now it's BY and AY, before and after Yellowstone. Before and after the world changed out of all recognition. Suddenly, utterly, irrevocably.
The global effects were not fully felt until a month or so after the eruption had stopped. Billions of tons of sulfur dioxide ejected by the volcano wrapped their way around the northern hemisphere, cutting down the sunlight. Within weeks, temperatures started to plummet, as much as 20 degrees in some places. Then the aerosols jumped to the equator and started to cool the southern hemisphere. The monsoon failed, adding drought to the bitter cold. Climatologists say it will start getting better in a few years. But let's just say, I don't think I'll live to see another tan.
Clear up the scale of what we still have to do all this time on. 80% of the USA covered by ash. 20% rendered unusable or uninhabitable. Cities and towns permanently abandoned. Billings, Cheyenne, Denver, Salt Lake City. I don't know how we've kept going, to be honest. I mean, just the animals. The livestock. Millions dead. Rotted where they fell. And the people. If it hadn't been for Walk to Life, 7.3 million lives saved. That was an achievement. And it was Rick's achievement.
Not knowing was the hardest part. He called from Cheyenne, from the airport, with Ken. And then I didn't hear anything. Until Michael Eldridge called from FEMA to say they were in this bunker place. But safe. But then, when there was no news, I gave up all hope of ever seeing them again.
Sir, I believe this is yours.
Why did I choose to come back? It's hard to say, really. To face the reality of what nearly happened, I suppose. How close we actually came to never leaving this place at all. We were picked up in Cheyenne. And when the ash finally stopped falling, we were transported to Denver, where we waited with thousands of others for our turn to be rescued. It would be 3 months until the transatlantic routes opened up again, and I made it back to my family in England. But I soon realized I couldn't stay there. Not until I'd seen, for myself, what had happened to Yellowstone. The place I'd spent my whole life trying to understand. Things will get better. They will, eventually. Nature will recover. The world will recover. This, after all, is not only how life ends, it's also how life begins. And one day, someday, Yellowstone will erupt again. But not on my watch.
Tons of pumice, rock and ash were ejected, powered out by something with the explosive force of 1,000 Hiroshima bombs. Then the wind carried the top of the column eastwards. Within an hour or so, pumice and ash began to fall in towns hundreds of miles away from Yellowstone. Cody, Billings, Idaho Falls, Bozeman, where Dave was.
Can you give me a hand? I just got a few things in the back of the truck to unload. Thanks a lot. Rick! Rick, it's Dave!
Dave, listen. Has this seismic activity, has it triggered an eruption?
Yeah. Matt said it's a single vent.
Okay. Dave, I need to determine the size of this vent. I need to do that as soon as possible, all right?
All the equipment's down, and Matt can't get a clear view from the chopper. Just put that down anywhere. I'm booting up a link to... Please, tell me you have a high-speed data port. Oh, yeah, it's right over there. Oh, thank God. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Rick. Yeah. I'll have a satellite uplink in a few minutes. Should be able to see the ash cloud, and I'll patch in the back.
Okay, listen, Dave, I need you to talk to Michael Eldridge in Washington, okay? Get a hold of him, just, inform him about what's happening, and tell him that we need him to declare red level 3 emergency, all right? You got that? Red level 3.
I got it.
All right, and if this vent gets any bigger, anything else opens up, and I need to know about that, Dave.
Will do, boss.
Jesus, Rick, just be honest with me.
I'm being honest with you, yes.
This is going to be a big eruption. You've got to come with us.
I don't need you to tell me what harmonic tremor means.
If I upgrade to a red, everyone's going to think that we've got a super eruption on our hands. But I am not going to be held responsible for some kind of mass panic.
Mr. Lieberman, Mr.
Yes,
Lieberman,
hang on,
Mr.
hang on.
Lieberman,
Yes.
Are you still denying the possibility of a super eruption? It's twice as likely as an asteroid strike, according to some experts.
And half as unlikely as being struck by lightning, Miss Chin. And how many of us lose sleep over that?
Sit down.
Field
The
office.
captain hasn't turned the fast gear seatbelt on.
This is it, Matt. It started.
Hey, Bob.
Nice dress. I'm sorry to haul your way.
No problem. Who have I got from USGS?
Is there or is there not a magma chamber underneath Yellowstone National Park?
Yes.
And is this magma chamber of sufficient size that if there was an eruption there, it could potentially be rated as a super eruption?
Could, right? Precisely, could. If there is an eruption, then there is a good possibility that it's going to be a moderate one.
This isn't enough, Rick. If there's even the slightest chance of this happening, I want to know what that means.
Then we would be looking at between 2,000 and 3,000 cubic kilometers of rock, gas, and ash erupting across the United States in a pattern that looks like this.
Expects an eruption anytime soon, and possibly with devastating consequences for America and the world.
No one.
What?
You can't get through to the field office at the moment.
Hey, Dave.
Michael Eldridge is on his way over.
Is this vacuumetry all we have on this?
Yeah, and it's only a projection.
What? Okay, Air Force, I need a plane up there as close as it can get taking a look at this thing. Let's brief the White House on little we know so far. Dave, get Vac on the line. I want to talk to Governor Marshall in Wyoming, Joe Foster at Homeland, and keep trying the Yellowstone field office. And Bob, please get me something else to wear.
Sure. Mary?
You got the job. You need to take a look, man. You need to see what's going on. Make contact with Dave. Let him know what's happening. Go.
There are two kinds of volcanic eruptions, red and gray. In a red eruption, the magma, it's actually called lava when it's erupted, flows freely from the ground. You've seen it on TV, this slow-moving flow of molten material. It's damn destructive in its own way, but slow, very slow. You can literally outpace a lava flow without breaking a sweat. Not so with a gray eruption. What you have there, you've got magma trapped by overlaying rock, okay? The pressure builds and builds to the point the whole thing blows. The magma under pressure turns to foam and gas, which bursts upward in a vertical column at twice the speed of sound, 50 kilometers up into the stratosphere.
Sir, there are no cell phones permitted on this aircraft.
I understand. I need to...
Sir, I have to ask you to turn your phone off.
My name is Richard Lieberman. I'm the scientist in charge of Yellowstone Volcano Observatory. I'm receiving news of an emergency here that could affect the flight path and safety of this aircraft.
My God, has something happened?
I need to speak to the captain, please.
Okay.
Dave, come in, Dave. This is Matt. Damn it. Dave, this is Matt.
Hey, Matt, it's me. I'm heading out to Bozeman. Where are you?
Just to the northeast of Norris.
What are you seeing?
Oh, it's a single vent, moderate size at the moment. How far from Bozeman are you?
About an hour.
Okay, listen. Rick is on his way back from Washington. We got shaken up pretty good back at the field office. It's completely down. What can you do for us?
I'll be up and running in 30 minutes.
It's been estimated that within the first hour, 100 million